Hey YouTube, hang on while I read into the podcast. Welcome to HealMeToo at Home, with insights, art, and activism to meet the needs of now. I'm Hope Sinkson, the artist, activist, survivor, and founder of the HealMeToo Festival and podcast. If you're listening on Apple or any podcast, you might want to check out the YouTube channel for the HealMeToo podcast and festival, where you can watch the video of this interview and every recent episode. In the HealMeToo at Home series, I'm talking to advocates and healing practitioners about all the different traumas that survivors and our communities are experiencing right now, with a special focus on stories you may not be hearing about and ideas, tools, and actions that may help. Subscribe to the HealMeToo podcast today on YouTube and Apple or anywhere you get podcasts. And follow us at HealMeToo Fest on social media to hear about every new episode and every live event we start offering on Zoom. A quick note about today. We won't focus on graphic details, but I do encourage you to take a break or skip ahead anytime you need. And you can find a list of support resources at healmetoopodcast.com. At live HealMeToo events, we always start with community agreements, and I've decided to offer one of them at the top of every episode for the rest of Season 3. It's called Ouch, Oops, O, or the 3 O's. I offer this tool in acknowledgement that I am a white, cis, middle-class, queer interviewer. I am committed to working for social justice, but I make mistakes. If I say or do anything that causes discomfort or hurt, I really hope podcast listeners and my guests will feel invited to tell me ouch so I can say oops, and then listen in the spirit of O so I learn to do better. I'm really grateful for the chance to be positively, beneficially uncomfortable so I can be in community in ever better ways. Throughout this special HealMeToo at Home Season 3, we are recording from our homes, so I apologize in advance for any occasional Zoom glitches. They usually aren't too bad. Our guests today are Jennifer Ruiz Diaz, the manager of the Sexual Violence Project at VIP, working with Latinx communities on their journey toward healing and breaking cycles of abuse. She is a licensed mental health counselor, and prior to her promotion to manager of SVP, worked as a counselor advocate with survivors of domestic and sexual violence for 5 years. She specializes in providing trauma-informed care with the goal of empowering and solidifying the safety of survivors, both physically and emotionally. As a queer Latinx survivor of family violence, she advocates for survivors' rights to forge their own path towards healing. She is committed to fighting the oppressive systems that continue to hinder the collective healing needed to create a violence-free future. Lorraine Correa is a counselor advocate for the Sexual Violence Project at VIP. Lorraine has extensive experience providing multilingual trauma-focused counseling and case management services to populations in underserved and marginalized communities. She has worked primarily with survivors of gender-based and community violence, as well as individuals with mental health diagnoses. She is passionate about social justice issues and mental health advocacy, especially among communities of color. As the daughter of an immigrant woman from Colombia, she hopes to continue to empower and uplift these communities, increase awareness and prevention of sexual violence, and to help survivors through their healing journeys. Jennifer and Lorraine, thank you so much for joining us on the HealMeToo podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for having us.
It's wonderful to have you. Well, may we start by just telling listeners a little more about each of you and the work that you do at SVP at VIP? A lot of letters. Go for it.
The kind of work that we do is started off group focused. So we have spent a lot of our work at first, because it's a new program here at VIP, working in a group modality, providing healing to our clients who are either survivors of sexual violence within domestic violence or intimate partner violence, or individually or outside of the domestic or intimate partner sphere. So we've been working with a lot of our clients in that for the last, say, year, because our program is still relatively new, within a year. And with the help of Lorraine coming as a counselor advocate, we've been able to also provide a lot more support and include our individual counseling that's really tailored and focused to survivors who are, at this moment, there are a lot of them who are survivors of child sexual abuse. And a lot of those clients are clients who came here to the agency as domestic violence or intimate partner violence, and then have revealed to their counselor that they also need extra support dealing with this other trauma. Because something that we have realized as VIP is none of our clients are coming into our program with one trauma. There's many different things, and in order to address, let's say, DV, we can't ignore the other things, either institutional problems or other past traumas that have occurred throughout their lifetime.
I know there's a greater an increased risk of additional sexual trauma when one has experienced childhood sexual trauma. And so I'm not at all surprised to hear that. And also in these times, it's really, really apparent how multiple the challenges are and the traumas people are experiencing. Lorraine, would you like to, tell us more?
Yeah. Right. So just piggybacking off of what Jennifer said, right, a lot of our clients have experienced multiple traumas, which we consider it to be called complex trauma. A lot of the clients that I currently see, because we have started, as Jennifer mentioned, we did group modalities, but we've also started individual counseling. So I've started seeing clients individually throughout the pandemic virtually, either through video or sometimes we just have telephone sessions. And even in the past, when I've done this work in the past, it's a very common theme to hear over and over that survivors of intimate partner relationships or domestic violence end up disclosing that this is not the first time that something like this happens to them, and that as children, they have also been sexually abused. And a lot of the times the abuse has happened at the hands of a caretaker or a loved one or a family member. And this is something that starts in childhood and kind of just affects them throughout their lifespan. And a lot of the clients that we see are also immigrant clients that have come here to the US specifically to escape the abuse that they were experiencing in their home countries, in the Latin American countries. So that in itself is re-triggering and re-traumatizing. A lot of them also, throughout their migration journey, are sexually assaulted throughout their migration journey. And then they come here to the US, and a lot of the times they also end up in abusive relationships here in the US. So it's this constant cycle of trauma, this constant cycle of abuse, which of course, as we know, produces so many reactions to this trauma. It really affects their mental state, their emotional ability, their self-esteem. And it's just something that keeps getting exacerbated and increased as time goes on.
And then bring in a pandemic and bring in, an uprising focusing on the harms of state violence. And I can imagine, it's just really an intense time. Would you like to?
Definitely.
Yeah. Would one of you like to fill in the listeners a little bit about the broader work of VIP? Because I know yours is a sexual violence project, but then the work of VIP for decades has been addressing the needs of, you should take it, not me, because you know it way better than me. But I really love what you guys do.
So we've been around since 1984. And we were started by a Latina-led organization. So it was very groundwork, like in the East Harlem area. And these women who came together to start this organization really kind of looked around them and saw the needs of their community. which was poverty, domestic violence, many other things that aren't being seen or even addressed in mainstream organizations dealing with intimate partner violence. So it's been 36 years working and expanding VIP scope to not only deal with domestic violence, which is intimate partner violence, but also kind of create ways and advocacy and information, knowing your rights on immigration, housing, working the law enforcement or even court systems, without being, English being your first language. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the work has been in an activist mode in many different areas, VIP, because we know that a lot of our clients who come to VIP, they're not coming in with a lot of this like groundwork information about knowing your rights, right? Like a lot of people either, since I've been at VIP for 6 years and before I became a manager, I was a counter advocate, and a lot of that work, you'll come in there and not knowing where to go for either being assaulted by your partner or even, yelled at or any of those things, and where to look for help because they don't speak your language. They may or may not deport you because you don't know that. Everyone tells you that you will be deported if you go to the police. All these little things of like not trusting things around you, and then the isolation, whether it is because of the abusive partner or because of the immigration process. You leave a country where you know everything and everyone to come to a country where you know nobody, you don't know the language, and you don't really know how the police or law enforcement system, but all you know are the myths all around you and everyone's telling you in order for you to kind of survive, which is kind of like a very thin line that you have to kind of like live on. And especially if the abuser is also informing you all the information, they're not going to tell you things that, will help you expand your world besides themselves,
Right, of course. Mm-hmm. And I imagine this was very much the case long before Trump, but that it's gotten worse, obviously, much, much worse. Yeah.
Trump years were interesting years when I was at VIP.
I really like that you're already using the past tense.
Yeah, well,
we still have to make that happen, but yes.
Exactly. I mean, like 2016, like the year he got elected, like day of, like what was it, like a Tuesday? So like the Wednesday we go back into work.
It was a weekday.
Right? Yeah, because I'm like election day was Tuesday.
I remember going to work the day after.
Like weird day, as an organization, we all work in there. So everything we've known so far, about how to help a client may change.
Right. Would you say that has happened? Is it just about everything about how to help a client that's changed?
During Trump, like throughout the Trump years. And then COVID also provided that other change that you kind of had to relearn. And I think a lot of our work is about always being, learning new things. But sometimes it takes you a minute to actually get like, okay, this is where you go for housing. This is who you talk to for this. And then the pandemic hits and you're like, okay. So a lot of those things that we can assist the client with has shifted into remote. And what does that mean?
Right. But you do, the DV shelters have still been open, right? Yeah, throughout the
pandemic. We have domestic violence shelters. We have a 24-hour hotline where anyone can call if they are seeking help, if they're in an abusive relationship, and also people that may know someone, or if you have a neighbor. It doesn't have to be the person that's actually in the abusive relationship to reach out for help, to reach out to a hotline, especially now during COVID. I don't know, for example, if you have like a neighbor or a friend that you suspect or there might be something going on there. There might be abuse going on. You yourself, as a friend or as an ally, you can call a hotline and just say like, hey, I think my neighbor or my friend might be in an abusive relationship. They might be being harmed in their home. And, an advocate can pick up, or a hotline counselor can pick up and support that person, give that person options. A lot of the times, I know we might be jumping ahead, but a lot of the times it might not be safe to call 911. It might not be safe to call the cops, especially if you're not in the relationship, you're not really sure what's going on. Calling the police might not always be the safest option for the person that's being abused. So you also have to keep in mind that those numbers are there not only for people that are in the situations, but also for people outside of it that want to help, that want to support. And they can definitely assist you with, a safety plan or coming up with ways to support that individual. So that's something that we have as well.
I never would have thought of that. I'm going to give the hotline number is 1-800-664-5880. And just for clarity, your mission is especially oriented to supporting Latinx communities, but not exclusively, or how do you focus your work and who you take in and support?
So we're very confident with the Latinx community, but that doesn't mean we're not taking anyone to call us. We're definitely here to accept anyone's call, and we also have an interpreter line if someone calls with a language that we don't speak. So that also helps us, make sure if that's a number that you have found, someone provided you, and Spanish or English is not your first language, there is that interpreter line that the person on the phone can call and assist you with that as well. And it's 24 hours as well. And in our website, we also have a little chat feature that you could do online as well. And someone will respond to you in the little chat feature.
And I assume that's a Spanish language chat as well as English as well. Yeah, that's amazing. And the website is VIP Mujeres. I'm actually not very good with Spanish.
No, you said it right.
Okay, but let's spell it. It's VIPMUJERES.org. And also, because I believe that means women, is that correct?
Yes.
We'll also clarify that I think you are not exclusively open to women, but to all genders and identities.
Yes, all genders and identities.
We're open to everyone. We definitely don't discriminate any demographics. I think we're just very, deeply rooted with the Latinx community. And Jennifer, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we are the only or one of the only culturally specific organizations in New York that provide specifically services for domestic and sexual violence survivors. There are many other organizations, but I think VIP is like the only one that's like deeply rooted in the Latinx community, which I'm pretty sure is true because I know Margarita has said it.
I think you're right. Yes. I'm almost certain. I'm like 99, that 1% always kind of gives away for me. But we are very focused on the Latinx community because we've had experience from 1984 to now. And of course, things have changed to 84 till now, but we know that there is a lot that it started from the grassroots organization in East Harlem and the needs of South Bronx and everything like that, because the women who started this realized that we weren't getting the service that we needed during that time period. Even if we think about like language access, there wasn't a requirement for if you were to call the police or do any of those things to have an interpreter be not present, but be called in order for that to be happening. Sometimes in the past, you would have to use your child or even the abusive person or the person who harms to be the translator. And what are the chances that the person who is harming you is going to tell the truth about who is being harmed here?
Right.
Very low. So I think VIP started that, lawsuit with NYPD and, joined with other organizations trying to fight for that right. to have, language access at all these different points because it's so important for us.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, amazing. And I believe that VIP may be still the only organization offering a shelter that is not exclusive to undocumented survivors, but welcoming of undocumented people without status. Is that correct, or am I wrong about that?
I think all of New York City might.
Oh, good.
Yeah, or should not be discriminating against someone who is undocumented.
Yeah, because I know like Safe Horizon also has shelters and they are open to, they don't consider immigration status.
I think maybe it was that you were the first. That might be, I
Yeah.
may have misunderstood something on the website.
I think we started a lot of our work on that to kind of focus on our clientele, like Latinx community. And then it expanded to a wider set of people coming in who also need those services, not who are just Latinx or undocumented. Because there are different needs for someone who is undocumented than someone who has papers, or who has a legal status in the U.S. There's still, of course, a struggle, to get a lot of services. That isn't like, to brush aside of that, but it is also a different kind of struggle as well, an added struggle to gain services or to even, get food or access. Because I believe, but for things like housing, having a status does hinder like the process of like maybe moving out of a shelter or finding permanent housing, because a lot of landlords require Social Security or require some sort of form of income that you could prove. Right. I don't know if you wanted to add anything else, Lorraine.
No, I think that you covered it. I don't know. Are we still discussing the scope of our work, or?
That would be fine. I was thinking we also had discussed a bit in advance the many forms of obstacles, and we've been alluding to some of them already, but I know that during COVID it's even accentuated more around access to technology, for example, or issues of housing, and the economic impact of the shutdown. And maybe we could continue if you'd like to address anything else about VIP or SVP, please do. But I would love to start telling people a little more, because not everybody would have thought it through in terms of, we're very focused on our own pandemic experience, I would assume, everybody, because it's traumatic for everybody. But there are really special factors at play.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you did mention that little piece, that we're all going through this and it's traumatic for everyone, because I think with talking to our clients, that is something that we are very transparent about, because we have, for example, with technological access, VIP did end up moving everything remotely except for the shelters. And we did experience some challenges when we were trying to have support groups with clients. And we believe it was because of technology access. And a lot of clients, sometimes, a lot of the clients we were seeing were having issues were in Queens for some reason, because we have different support groups that were separated by borough. And for whatever reason, the clients in Queens had a lot of issues with technology, and a lot of the times it was really challenging to do the groups online. And that has a lot to do with location. It has a lot to do with economic status. And it also has a lot to do with clients that have children and might be using their laptop or their iPad for their children's remote learning. So now they are not able to have a session with us because their child is using the laptop all day to do schoolwork. And then, of course, there's the economic impact. A lot of our clients rely on service industry jobs, on domestic jobs that don't offer healthcare, don't offer paid sick time. So their options are either you go to work and you risk getting COVID or you don't get paid. So I actually see clients sometimes virtually during their lunch break for a session, which that in itself is like a whole nother obstacle at times, because sometimes there's like somebody in the background. But I think that also goes to show just how much certain clients, want to heal and want to be involved with services. The fact that they want to take their lunch break to have a counseling session on their phone in the middle of, wherever it is that they're working. I think it's a very powerful thing to see, because that's not the case with all clients. There are some clients that it's very hard for them to focus on, for example, the trauma that happened in their childhood, when we are currently in a pandemic and they don't know how they're going to pay their rent. Like, why do I want to talk about, my sexual abuse as a child? Why do I want to re-traumatize and like open that box again, when right now my main priority and my main concern is the fact that I lost my income and I don't know how to pay rent. There's clients also that live in multi-generational households. So not only did they get sick, but their partner got sick, their kids got sick. And that's actually a tool that some abusers can use with survivors. There have been clients, and I've also read a lot about how abusers are now using COVID as a tactic to manipulate their partner. For example, I had one client, I think I can say this, right? I had one client that her husband blamed her because her entire household got COVID. So it's kind of like this tactic now that abusers can use. I've also read about abusers withholding PPE from their partner so that they can't go out, or if they go out, they don't even have a mask because they hide that from them. And a lot of our clients might also be financially dependent on their abuser. So it's not that easy to just, get up and leave when there's this financial abuse and this financial component that's occurring as well, if they're in that household or if they're with their partner. So there's a lot of different layers as to how our clients are being affected. Jennifer, I don't know if there was anything else that you wanted to add to that, but I think we are seeing like a general overall theme in similar issues with similar clients. Yeah.
I think I'd like to add the issues that we have with in general with COVID has been, paying your rent, housing, getting that PPE. But now we add the extra component of, not having immigration status, right? Or feeling safe to go outside, or relying on that one, stimulus check that, we got, not having those things, not being able to apply for unemployment benefits. Those are the things that a lot of our clients are on their own. So when we speak of isolation, it's not only physical isolation, that they may have gone through or are going through with COVID, but also like the lack of support, they may be the only person, that they have been relying on themselves, let's just say, and they've been making it by, paying their rent, paycheck by paycheck, like a lot of, Americans go through. But then we become, at this point right now in COVID, where in New York City, we were shut down until June, And you could, look for a job, but who's really hiring? Where is this person really going to be working, right? So it's a lot of these difficult things that the American public we're going through, but just, I don't want to say worse, but just a little bit different. Because of those safety nets, like governmental safety nets not being there, and also like the literacy of technology as well. Technology is something that we all have, right? However, not all of us can navigate Zoom, right? Not all of us can download that, or have an email. Or if we have an email, we don't know the password. I mean, there's a lot of those things that, you think that everyone has a smartphone. Maybe we do, but we know how to use our tech like our WhatsApp, our messaging, our calling, but do we know how to apply for benefits or restart that? And a lot of the service, like for our video, for video counseling, we use Doxini. And of course, it's great, but every instruction, every video is in English. Every button is in English. I think there's a button up there, when you have Google Chrome that you can put translate, but do we all know it's there if we're not really using the internet that way, or we're using our mobile phone? I mean, we have to think about the language access in so many of these different websites that we're saying are accessible to everybody, but they're not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I know.
Even, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Lorraine. Go ahead.
No, sorry. I was just going to say, even when we try to, like, for example, troubleshoot, a lot of the solutions that were given to us were not sustainable solutions. It was like, oh, buy a new computer, get new internet access. Like, our clients can't always do that. Or like, yeah, I forgot. It was like some solutions that were just like, it's just like not sustainable for the clients that we see. And another thing that I wanted to also bring up is, aside from the physical and the tangible obstacles, there's also just the mental health component. A lot of our clients are or still are or were, isolated in their homes, not really seeing friends, not really having any support. And that can really re-traumatize someone that has experienced a lot of trauma, and someone that has experienced sexual and domestic violence, where one of the tactics that are used in abuse is isolation, is isolating the person. Or some people might be in a home where they experienced abuse or violence, and now they're stuck in this home, or seeing this spot in the home or this area in their home where they were abused, and they can get re-traumatized, they can get re-triggered. So it's also, I know it's very easy to only focus on the objective and the financial component, which of course is extremely important. But it's also really debilitating to have all of this anxiety and all of these reactions to your past trauma coming up along with everything else, which makes it, harder to focus. It can have impacts on your memory. It can have impacts on how you just behave throughout the day. Some people, I've had clients that say they can't even get out of bed sometimes, because of everything that's going on. So mental health has definitely been a huge thing that has been impacted as well.
Yeah, I think for so many people, and when we consider, this is such a massive trauma, but to go through it without the support, right now, the American public is freaking out because the $600 payments have expired and there's no immediate solution. And it's like, okay, now imagine if that was the case for you from the beginning in this. Imagine if you had to walk through the last 4 months without state support, and if anything,
Right.
with state menace. So yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense that there would be enormous mental health toll. I mean, there already is for immigrant populations in this administration and in this country, period. But anyway, I'm getting preachy. But yeah, no, I mean, I think
Can't disagree.
I wanted to tee up the question of what people can do, because I know people can support financially, and I would love to offer ways that people hopefully will do that. I know that we have a link on your website. There's a donation page. So to support the counseling services we've just been talking about, and all the other shelters and all the services, the multilingual, phone line and the chat service, everything, there's a donation page at bit.ly/give2 VIP is all caps and give is lowercase. So it's bit.ly/give2 Do you want to help people understand why it's so important to give cash monies and not, other forms of support, which are of course well-intentioned, but
My reason for that is a lot of us, especially who have higher income or, who are rich, will say, I would like to give someone this. That way I know they're using it for that. I know where my money is going. It's going for diapers. Great. However, let's just say you are donating diapers. How many of those clients are going to use that one box of diapers? For how long? Right? And does everyone need that one size? There's multiple sizes,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just diapers. Cash helps the client helps us give the clients unrestricted kind of support. Like if the client said, I need money for diapers, we could say, okay, what size you need? And the client could decide, hey, I need this, and I know the best place to get it because it has a best deal. And some of the things is just, it's order for a lot of the autonomy to really come from the client, because not only poverty, but also, as a survivor of, intimate partner violence or sexual violence, a lot of that you don't have autonomy, or that you lose that. And in order to give someone back, you have to give them the ability to decide what they want to do with that help, because it's difficult. I mean, I could give someone food, and food pantries are great, but food pantries are also something that's difficult to, access. In the past, I had a client who was in a shelter. She was undocumented. She lived in a single woman shelter. She was a lot older, in her 60s or above. And in a single woman shelter in New York City, you cannot bring any food inside. You have no kitchen. So for us to give her, canned foods, or give her anything that, which is also, by the way, allergic, right?
Right.
Or whatever things that were like the contents of that, it didn't work for her. If we had food, she would come in gladly and come here and make food. But if she had cash, she was able to spend that kind of money on things that she needed, like food or toiletries. Because also another thing, like if we even just expand on what cash assistance or, food stamps or SNAP benefits, you're not allowed to spend that kind of money on shampoo, right? Or period things. It's very specific on what you're allowed to spend money on. And you can't just say, that's what I want to spend my money on. And I think that's very important, to give back that autonomy with clients about best way to kind of assist the client in getting their needs met. Did you want anything to add, Lorraine, or?
I think you did a great job explaining that. And also, there's also information out there, and there's articles out there that state that culturally specific organizations also have a harder time getting funding. And there's only so much funding that nonprofit in general gets, but then when we're talking about culturally specific organizations, it just makes it even that much harder. And we know what our clients need. Our clients know what they need. It's not really about not knowing or like not being able to figure it out. It's just the fact that we know what we want. The survivors know what they want. It's just about getting it, and it's very hard to get it when you don't have the funding. And unfortunately, money talks. So with that funding, we can also do a lot for our own clients. And, we also have a lot of prevention education. We have a program where former clients of VIP or current clients of VIP, they are also doing prevention work and community work with an organizer at VIP as well. And that they're called the promotoras. So it's basically survivors that are also doing community-based activism in the neighborhoods and in the communities. So, it's very small. We wish we could have a lot more of this work going on, but right, that's why we do need more of this funding, not just for the resources that clients need, but for the work that we continue doing, because our mission is that we want to eradicate domestic and sexual violence, and we are working on more community-based solutions, and that's just one of them. And we can do so much more with more funding. And not just us, but there's tons of other organizations that also do amazing work. So it's it's more of a systemic issue that we're facing when it comes to funding.
Right, of course, of course. I'll also just toss into the mix that in addition to financial support, which is incredibly important, activism that people can undertake is incredibly important. And I'd love to hear your suggestions on this as well. The one that I can bring to the table is I run an electoral activism group, and we are collaborating with a group called Reclaim Our Vote, who partners with the NAACP and is empowering voters of color in all voters of color in many different swing states, but some of the Latinx communities especially that are getting supported by this work are in Texas, Florida, and Arizona. So helping people exercise and fight voter suppression in these voter suppression states. So again, their name is Reclaim Our Vote, and there's amazing phone banks going on all the time to, reach out to people and give them the information that is going to allow them to vote safely this year as well, whether that's early voting or voting by mail. So, and I noticed you both nodding about activism is important. Are there particular actions that you want to put out there for people to be aware of beyond the work you've already discussed?
Like, Jennifer, go ahead. What I do want to say is I think it starts with more, just listening to more Black and brown survivor stories. And in general, listening to survivor stories, because sexual violence is something that is still so stigmatized. We don't talk about it enough. And when we do talk about it, there's a lot of myths surrounding it. So I think it's also important to really start with just listening to stories. There's websites, there's organizations, there's lots of resources that share the stories of survivors, and believe them. If someone tells you that, someone is abusing them, if someone tells you that they're being sexually abused, if a child tells you that someone is doing something wrong to them, believe them. I think there's this big idea that, children, make things up, or they have such a big imagination. But most of the time when a child is telling you that someone is hurting them or harming them, you should believe them, and you should explore that a little bit deeper. So definitely listening to their stories, donating to organizations. I'm not sure any other activism work. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we could use that as a segue to the other work that you all are doing that's so powerful, which is about storytelling, right? Do you want to share a little about that? I love this because it's really in that meeting place between advocacy, art, and healing.
And that's a great segue, because to answer your first question and then to go to storytelling, I think it's about what Lorraine said, believing the person who's telling you this, listening to their story. If it's a child, even if you think they're making it up, I think it's better safe than sorry, and to really kind of hold the person who is harming them accountable. One of the things is also, I think as a society, we have to kind of see how the patriarchy, white supremacy, and all of this kind of is affecting our worldview on like all these things in our lives. I'm a mental health counselor. I went into this work 6 years ago. I was working 6 months in another agency before I came to VIP, and that was like my first job out of grad school. No one talks to you about domestic violence. No one, or intimate partner violence, family violence. No one talks to you about that. In grad school, it was an elective, and I couldn't take it because of some sort of, time schedule, blah, 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 blah. And then I get into this work, and I'm like, whoa, my family could have had a resource. My friend could have had a resource. I could have had resources. And no one knows about it. And I think a lot of the work early in the 80s, because I have a coworker who's been doing this work and has been a VIP almost since the beginning. Cannot say the beginning because she wasn't there 84, but she was there almost 36 years. She tells me that, like, you know, the idea of being able to kind of say, like, no to violence is a big deal, because when she started, I mean, even having Subway ad was a big deal because no one really wanted to talk about it, you know, and that was, you know, let's say the 90s. The 90s not that far away from here. And to say that she has seen a shift in, like, a lot of, like, talking about this in TV and as sexual violence and all this is a big shift. And we have a lot of ways to go about, like, in that direction. You know, the Me Too really kind of push that, you know, voice out there, and to really kind of, it took a long time to get here, and we're not even at our most best. We're just started.
We're still approaching.
Yeah, and I think it's just continuing that work, and holding a lot of the people accountable for the harm that they have done. And I know there's many ways. It doesn't have to all be, you know, in the, you know, police or, you know, jail system, because there is restorative justice, you know, framework that, you know, I'm just learning. And I also believe that's also important, you know, in the process of changing. But we also have to be, you know, as a collective, really saying that those are the bad things or unacceptable behavior, and holding that person kind of being like, no, we don't accept that here. You know, like, doing that first step is, like, the biggest step in this work. And I think as a counselor, when I used to see clients a lot more often, that was the biggest thing that I told the clients, or my clients, was, you've done the biggest step, which is you realize something was wrong and ask for help. You know, whatever length of time it took you to get here, that was the time you needed to get here. Right? We can't solve everything. You know, I wish we could, you know, wave that wand, but that thing is that big step, it was like acknowledging that something was wrong, and then asking for help for clarification about, what can I do? Can I help my relationship? Do I need to leave? How can I leave? What is the best way to leave? You know, and those are the big questions that really start the things in shifting in, you know, what is abuse and what is tolerable to accept from other people. And a lot of our work kind of starts, you know, with that mentality of, what are you allowed to do? You know, what do you think you're allowed to do? You know, you're allowed to, if you want to, talk to the police officer if you want to go down that route. Or you could also, you know, this is the other safety plan we could come think about, is best ways for you, you know, to keep you and your family safe, or just yourself safe. You know, like, those are alternatives that we don't have to involve law enforcement, which some of our clients are kind of scared to do.
Of course.
And that is a segue to the storytelling. Not from the framework of them coming to be, let's say, VIP, and us asking them questions, you know, in our intake saying, so what happened? How often? Okay. Or the police officer saying those same things, but, you know, harsher tone, or, you know, in family court, all these different aspects of people asking you and probing you those questions, and possibly someone passing you judgment, either nonverbal or verbal. But in the storytelling workshop that we do, what we want to know is what the client wants to tell us their story. What was really that happened to them? What did they see? How unfair it was? And kind of like a resolution, you know, like, it's almost like a mini time capsule of either that event or what she felt about that event in that moment. And in the 3 workshops that we did last year, it was an interesting thing to see the clients being able to tell their stories the way they want, with images that they want. StoryCenter.org provided us that kind of training of how to teach a client how to voice their opinion and do their own narrative. And it was a very transformative work that the clients did in a week, to kind of write down their story, edit it, narrate their voice, which some of our clients didn't want to, you know, use their own voice, right? because, it's ugly or not, pleasant, I guess. But, convincing the client, or at least informing them, like, it's only for you. And whoever you want to show after this. And to think about those kind of steps, creating this video that is either for you or for intended audience. And depending on your start or where you started that video on your healing process, each story was different, but the same kind of story.
Right.
Some of them, in one of the Manhattan workshops, we've realized a lot of their family members came from alcoholism, from some sort of violence as a childhood. And then they're also telling that part, and then telling about how that kind of informed their relationships that they engage in later in their lives. And that really kind of shifted like that healing process as well, of, wow, there's something there. I didn't know about how, like, for example, machismo or patriarchy kind of informed a lot of that. And here we are, maybe some similarities between our stories, or similarities between like the past and the present. So there's a lot that our digital story workshops kind of showed us of our clients. So they were ready to tell their story, but to own their story and narrate it themselves and what was important to them, without, me or a police officer telling them what is the most important part of it.
I know we've gone over our time. Lorraine, do you want to add to that in terms of the narrative workshops and what you experienced there?
Sure. Just really quickly, also the digital storytelling workshop, it's also it's not meant to be like therapy, but it is therapeutic for the clients, and they're sharing their story on a digital platform, and it's really up to them to decide whether, they keep it or they share it with somebody else. They're the ones that kind of get to narrate their story. And part of the work that we're doing is also reframing the narrative. I think a lot of the time, I know a lot of the times where clients are told all of these things about themselves because of what they've gone through. Like it was your fault, or, they have a lot of guilt, a lot of shame for the abuse that they've endured. And the digital storytelling platform is just another step in their healing. They also get to see that, they're not the only ones that go through this. And it's something that is healing for them, but it's also, healing for us as well, because we're in this work. A lot of people that are in this work, it could be because they've also experienced, some type of violence in their past. So, we're not perfect human beings. Just because we're doing this work doesn't mean that we're fully healed of our own traumas. So it's kind of a mutual healing experience. I personally, self-disclosure, have not done the digital storytelling. I wasn't at VIP yet when they did it. But I have watched some of the client videos with their permission to watch it. And it is really powerful to see the way the words that they choose, the way they tell their story. It's really up to them, they have control over it. And that's what we want to do also. We want to reframe the narrative, and we want them to feel like they're in control again, because a lot of them don't. A lot of them don't feel like they're in control. When you have experienced so much abuse in your life and so much trauma, you don't feel in control, and you don't feel like you have any power. And this is just a way for us to sort of give them a little bit of their power and a little bit of that control back. So it's definitely a very powerful experience to have with the clients.
That. Yeah, I love that. What a strong place to wrap it up for today. Thank you both for all of these tremendous
This was great.
insights.
This was amazing.
Wonderful. Well, that is it for today. Tune in next week and every week for more ideas that may help with the needs of right now, whether you are a survivor, an ally, or anyone experiencing stress and trauma in these times. In the meantime, you can catch up on the episodes and extras from our first and second seasons. Subscribe to our HealMeToo podcast and festival YouTube channel, as well as Apple Podcasts. If you take just a second to give us a rating and review on iTunes, you will help more survivors and allies to find us. You can join our mailing list at healmetoopodcast.com to hear about our future festival pop-up events on Zoom, and follow us on social media. We are at HealMeTooFest. I hope you'll say hi in the comments. Thank you for listening.